Hello, welcome once again to Leto's Law. I'm Steve Leto. You can go ahead and be rude to the cop if you want to. Go ahead and be rude to the cops. And I'll explain. I've got two videos about police officers that have done very, very well on my channel. The number one video on my channel is called When Can the Police Search Your Car at the Roadside? And it's got over 1 million views. Number two is Reduce the Odds of Being Ticketed When Pulled Over by a Police Officer. Reduce the odds of being ticketed. And that's got over 500,000 views, which are very, very good numbers for me. Most of my videos get nowhere near that. So the funny thing is that in response to those two videos, I've gotten a variety of comments, a lot of comments. And many comments are just run of the mill. Hey, Steve, great video. Thanks. Or, tell me more about the cars or the microphones, whatever. But I also get a lot of comments that are good from people saying, hey, Steve, thank you for this. It, makes a lot of sense. Or I'm in the business. I'm a police officer. I'm a judge. I'm a prosecutor, whatever. And what you're saying is true. Okay, I've had police officers thank me. I've gotten emails from a police officer saying, thank you for putting this information out there. It's going to make my job easier. If people took this advice, it'd make my job easier. But the weird thing is, on the other side of the spectrum, I get vile comments almost daily where I've got to go through the comment section and literally delete comments because they're literally filthy, vulgar, obscenity-laced. But people post the most foul comments and name calling, and it boils down to, and I'll put it in plain English without the vile obscenities. It's basically, why do I have to kiss their ring just because they're a police officer? Why do I have to be nice to them? Why do I don't have to be nice to a cop if I don't want to be. I'm here to tell you don't have to be. In fact, I encourage you, if that's your attitude, go ahead and be rude to the police. Please, go right ahead. Be rude to the police. Now, you might say, Steve, are you doing an about face? Are you changing your position on this? Not at all. No, and I'll tell you why. The theme of the video about how to reduce the odds at the roadside when you've been pulled over by a police officer, how to reduce the odds of getting a ticket, is to be polite to the police officer and make his or her job easier. Do what you can to put them at ease, let them know that they're not in danger, let them know that you're cooperating. Do everything you can to help the police officer out. And the reason you're doing that is at the side of the road, the police officer has a vast amount of discretion. The police officer can write you a ticket. The police officer can give you a warning. The police officer can write you a ticket for what you actually did, or the police officer can give you a break. You're doing 30 over, the police officer can write you for doing 5 over. If they want to, they can. Also, the police officer has discretion in court. The day of your hearing, a police officer could walk up to you and go, you know something, I know I wrote you for doing 30 over. I'm going to give you a break. Plead guilty to 5 over. We can both go home right now. They can do that too. So my point was that if you are very, very polite and cooperative and do what you can to make the job of the police officer better and easier, you're more likely to be one of the people who gets the break, right? So if you hear there's a discount or a break or a bonus or something available to some people, don't you want to be in the group of people who gets that bonus, discount, or break? That's my thinking, okay? So if I told you, hey, if you be polite tomorrow, someone will give you money. You don't have to be polite tomorrow. Just no one's going to give you any money. But if you are polite tomorrow, someone might give you money. You might go, I'll be polite tomorrow, see what happens, okay? So my point was simply, you can do that to reduce the odds of getting a ticket. And like I said, I've gotten emails and comments from all over. I've gotten emails from police officers around the country saying, Steve, thank you. Thank you for doing that. But here's the funny thing. The vile comments I get from people who say, Steve, I don't have to be polite to a police officer, and I'm going to remove the foul language, but I don't have to be polite. That's their job. If they want to pull me over, screw them. I don't. If you want to kowtow and bow and scrape in front of the police, you can go right ahead. I'm not going to. Don't. And I'll tell you why. Because if everyone did it, eventually no one would get breaks. Because once the equilibrium resets and everyone's behaving the same way, the police officer can't differentiate the good ones from the bad ones. So everyone's going to get tickets. So my advice to you is, if you disagree with my advice, please be rude to the police officer. Because for every person like me, I need someone like you to counterbalance me. Okay, did you see Unbreakable? Right? Mr. Glass? You've got to have the other person on the side of the mirror. You've got to have the other person at the end of the scale. The teeter-totter only works with two people. So when I get pulled over by a police officer and I put my hands on the wheel and I roll my window down and I turn my dome light on and I'm very polite and I announce my movements in advance and make that person's job easier, I need him to have someone like you to compare me to. So hopefully you were rude to the cop half an hour earlier. If you were rude to the cop a half hour earlier and he wrote you a ticket, and then he pulls me over and I roll the window down, turn the dome light on, hands on the wheel, very, very polite. Yes, sir. No, sir. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Guess what? I don't get a ticket, but you do. I want you to be rude to the cop. So if you are one of the people who is inclined to disagree, and by the way, you're probably a contrarian in everyday life too, but if you're one of those people who thinks, I don't have to obey a cop, I don't have to do what a cop tells me to do, I don't have to do what a cop wants me to do. I can do anything I want. I can crack my window this far, tell him to go screw himself, and I can go on with my life. And if he wants to write me a ticket, so be it. Yes, 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 do that, do that. I want you to do that. Because if you encourage the police officer to give you a ticket, he'll be less inclined to give me one. You're making me look better. So my advice to you, if you're one of the people who watched one of my videos where I suggested that you might want to be polite to a police officer, by the way, for mercenary reasons, I'm admitting that you're doing this for wholly selfish purposes. WHOLLY, wholly selfish purposes, entirely selfish purposes. You're being polite, not because I'm saying you should be polite to everyone. Notice I never said you need to be polite to your accountant. I didn't say you have to be polite to the FAA. I said you have to be polite to the police officer who's on the other side of the door who can write you a ticket. I admit now I'm doing that entirely for selfish reasons. And I'm telling you to do it for selfish reasons. But if you don't want to, okay, don't roll your window down. Don't look at them. When they yell at you to roll your window down, refuse. Yeah, sure, go right ahead. Okay? Because remember, my advice to you was to roll the window down and be polite and do everything you could to get out of the ticket. But if you don't want to take my advice, do the opposite. Because I need people like you to prove me right. Okay? As long as there are people like you who are willing to be rude to a cop during a traffic stop, people like me get breaks. Okay? So again, the police are going to write a certain number of tickets. And I want to do what I can to make sure the tickets aren't being written for me or people like me. And so if there's people like you who want to be rude to a police officer at the side of the road, by all means, keep doing it. Keep doing it. I encourage you to do it. Don't say an attorney told me to do this, because that's not what I told you to do. I told you to be polite and everything else I told you to do in the previous video. I'm merely saying if you disagree with that, I'm not going to argue with you. I'd rather have you continue doing what you're doing. I probably can't help you anyways. Okay? So you're beyond help. Knock yourself out. Be rude to the cop. Be a contrarian the rest of your life. See how far that gets you. And enjoy your life. Because remember and recognize that for every ticket you get, it's a ticket I didn't get. Because it does work that way. So there you have it. If you don't like my advice on how to reduce the odds of being ticketed at the roadside, or you don't believe that I'm right when I tell you about when the police can search your car at the roadside, knock yourself out. Behave as you see fit, because your behavior benefits me. Questions or comments, put them below. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.